Alright, good morning. Today is the day. Something like that. So this is the first time I popped the hood on this old truck here. This is a, let me get the year right, because I've been saying like 4 different years. Oh god, there we go. See? Already messing up. That's how we started off. First thing in the morning. I already forget. There we go. Okay. Take 3. And ID tag is here. It's a 2016. Okay. I think I was right the first time. It's a 2016 with 204,330 or 300 and I don't know why my brain's not working today. 355,000 miles. 3,500 Laramie Longhorn, white and gold. This is an all stock truck, with an exception, of course, that it's missing some hardware here, which is a good thing. You know, we support making diesels run like diesels are designed to run. You know. So this truck is here for the valve lash adjustment, which again on a 24 valve Cummins should be done about every 150,000 miles. On a 12 valve about every 50 to 75. Failure to not run the deck in a good timely manner can lead to a rocker coming off a push rod, bending a push rod. They'll also run inefficient because you no longer will be opening the valves fully, so you'll have less air in and out. They run a lot better when you run the deck when you're supposed to. So you can do them every 100. Obviously, the more the merrier, right? But I mean, I wouldn't do them like excessively, like every oil change. I think that's too much work. So we'll be changing the gasket on the rocker box, which appears to have some leakage going on. Something's going on here. The valve cover and the crankcase filter as well, which I'm unfortunately pretty sure that it has not been changed as it's supposed to, and it's okay. That's why we're here. We're also going to give this truck a good look over, see what else is leaking, if it needs anything else, stuff like that. We're just going to kind of bring it to his attention, and we'll go from there. I believe this truck, the last time I worked on this truck, I don't know if it was the driver wheel or the passenger wheel, but the hub came apart while he was driving, and we ended up fixing that. It tore everything up. It tore the caliper up, the caliper bracket up. It just wrecked it. So here for the valve lash adjustment, it's obviously here for the Black Market Performance intake, which we won't be doing this time because that will not be. It's going to be in the late January production set that they're doing, so we won't have that till probably the beginning of February, unfortunately. So I talked to him about it. He said he's just going to push it off. We'll come back and do it. No big deal. And of course, the big item, why this truck is here, is the turbo. The actuator has failed. Granted, we can just change the actuator, but the newer designs are far better to kind of eliminate. And we're probably going to realign this truck a little bit to get that rear wheel on the concrete, but the new designs of the turbo kind of eliminate a lot of failure points. They last longer from what I've seen, so we're going to go with that. I don't think I've yet to show a video of how we do this. Essentially, what I will do, we'll pull, of course, with this truck being so low, we might end up pulling the passenger wheel off, but we're going to pull the fender well out. Of course, the little fender liner here. We're going to pull the air box out, the battery box, and we're going to pull the coolant bottle, which will give me free access to the turbo. There is also a heat shield on the motor mount underneath the turbo that you may or may not have to cut, because it's a real pain in the ass to try to get that. Try to get the drain flange, 2 10mm bolts on the bottom of the turbo with that in the way. So once you pull all that out of the way, we'll undo the V-band. As you can see in the very back, excuse me, off the 45 degree. pull that V-band, and then we'll pull the V-band just behind the turbo on the 45, move the 45 out of the way, and then we'll get the 4 15mm nuts that hold the turbo to the flange, and then we'll drop the turbo, kind of kick it at an angle, and then we will pull it out the top. So looks like a lot of stuff right now. It's really not a whole lot. I've done this 1,000 times. The only thing with this is number one, the turbos are heavy. Obviously, they're not the lightest thing in the world. They're not the heaviest thing in the world. They're definitely lighter than a 6.4 compound setup, but they are heavy, and with the position that they are in, they are very awkward to handle. So we are going to do the turbo first. This is how we're going to tackle this truck. Like I said, I'm going to reposition it real quick. That way it has time to cool back down. You don't want to do valve lash on a warm engine or a hot engine. You only want to do valve lash when the engine is cold, cold, cold. So we're not going to run it long enough to get any heat. And then we got that. We saw yesterday, we started tearing the front end of this thing apart. The 4Runner's done. This truck has officially been written off as a dead man truck, so she's RIP. And it will be, a flatbed will be coming to get that at some point. I think he said he just wants to post it and sell it and see what he can get. I think he said roughly he's going to be asking about 10 grand or so, so we shall see. Well, let's dive into it. Alright, so as I stated earlier, fender rails out, battery box, battery, all the air box stuff, all this is unhooked, just pretty much a rat's nest of wires now, even though it's really not necessarily a rat's nest like, but we're draining the coolant. We pulled the grill off, we pulled the cover off, because the best way to get to the drain plug is right here. You'll see that, a little down there. Just kind of pull this off and then put your hand down there and get it. Use a Allen head, a 10mm. It's the way to get them. The best way to get them, at least. I mean, you could probably try to shove your hand down there, but screw that. Not enough room for me. So we're gonna let her drain a little bit because I don't like getting coolant everywhere, and I damn sure don't want to pull the bottom drain off the turbo and then get, you know, the face full of it. So now that's, somebody's been in here before. Because these should be, I don't know why I just caught this, but these should be crimp fittings. And they're hose clamps. Which, I mean, makes it easier for me, I guess, because typically I just pull the hose. I mean, it's the same thing for this one. Just come over here, pop it off the radiator, no big deal, right? But, okay. Somebody's been up in here before. They probably replaced this bottle, honestly. These things are notorious. Especially in the later years. I don't know what it is, 16, 17, 18s. The float sensor, or the level sensor, in these, they don't work worth a darn. So you have to replace them to get them to work again. Otherwise, you just, every time you get in your truck, it shows low coolant. Which, I mean, great, it's, you know, it doesn't really bother you, I guess. But at the same time, it's like, well, it is kind of nice to have if, in fact, you do actually have low coolant. It's nice to have a notification saying, hey, probably should stop the truck, we got a leak or something, you know, is going on. So I'm also got a hose clamp there on the bottom. Yeah, somebody's definitely been up in here. Well, trying to think if, man, I don't remember him talking about this. It's been some years ago. Golly, it's been a long time. I think he's had this truck 6 years now, right? 6 years, 5 years, something like that. I remember when he got it. I do remember that, but it's been a minute, so that's where we're at. So we're just gonna let it finish draining because I don't want to get a face full of coolant. But now that the level's low enough, we will go ahead and just pull the degas bottle off. Get all this stuff out of our way and start pulling all the little stuff off the turbo that we can get to, like the coolant inlet, which comes off of here from this pipe, goes in. We'll pull that off. We'll probably just pull the whole thing, honestly, just to keep it out of our way. The oil feed line we'll pull off. We'll start unplugging the actuator itself. We'll untake the wire holder off, and then the vane position sensor, which sits right behind, kind of see my finger there, right behind the oil feed line. We'll pull that off and we'll combust those two V-bands in the back. And should be about it. Oh, that would explain why he changed this bolt, because down there is the right bolt. Imagine that. Back it there. Found it. Well, let's get back to tearing this old girl apart. Hope we try to get this done today. It would be awesome. I don't see why we can't, but you know, things happen, so you never know. Got a little honeybee over here. Oh, the camera. Yeah. Save the bees. That just shows my my spedness right there. Just kind of squirrel freak out. But all right, enough watching the bee fly around. Let's get this turbo off this old girl so we can put something nice and pretty right there. Alright, so now, so I busted all the bolts loose, so the only thing I need to do now, I'm going to bust the coolant line off of the block, which is behind the oil temperature sensor right there. I'm going to leave that on until I'm done underneath, so I can't take y'all with me, unfortunately. I'm going to bust the two 10mm bolts off the oil drain, and then all I got to do at that point is get the 45 elbow off, which I already took the nut off the V-band, so get the V-band out. The turbo is only hanging on by one nut, that guy there. Those really, if you put some heat on them, there's a little pilot torch there, but you just put a little bit of heat on them, they typically come off pretty easy. You have to put some heat on that bottom one there because it's kind of there's really not a whole lot of angle you can use to get at it. But typically you can manhandle them, depending on how strong you are. But so I'm going to go underneath now. I'm going to get the oil drain off. I'll come back up, knock the 45 off, and then we will remove the last nut, and we will get this turbo off of the manifold. So yeah, this is the vane position sensor. Sometimes you can pull it out the top as it sits. Most of the time you got to leave it in there. It's just the way it is. So all good, all good. So now the dirty side of the truck under. Alright, so as y'all saw, we pulled the turbo out, and if you saw me mangle it all around, this stuff kind of just goes to show how difficult it is, because that's what I mean by it's just awkward. Turbo is not light, it's not heavy, but it is awkward to handle. There's really no way to grab it, and the space that it has to get in, well, you ain't having no party in here, so it's just kind of obnoxious, I guess, so it's real tedious. Surprisingly though, the bottom part, all I did was bend the heat shield out of the way. I've had to cut them I think I've cut one in the past. It may have been because we did a second, or not a second gen swap, but a third gen swap kind of style, a mechanical turbo. I don't really remember, but I know it was in the way, we couldn't get around it. But now, on these, and it may be on the older style frames, like the 13 frames before they went to the Vorse front ends, we can bend it out of the way and get it. I did have to pull the bottom coolant line off. I did forget about that because we're at 90s right here. It hits on this member, and you can't drop the turbo down low enough with it like that. So here's the old turbo. We're going to remove the turbo feed fitting and the VGT position sensor. And prettiness, oh yeah, that's the only time it'll ever look that clean. Put the cap back on it, factory. So we don't need this. This is mainly for the 07 to 12 trucks. We're going to be using the factory pigtails. We're just going to pull this off, put it to the side for now, and then we're going to put they gave us 4 studs, and they already have one in it, which I mean is no big deal. So we'll put 2 studs in. We're going to leave the stud in the manifold. We also give you the crush washers for the coolant fittings, and as well as the drain tube gasket. So reason being why we're going to leave this one is because all the heat cycles that thing has gone through, it's going to practically be welded in there. And a lot of the times that I see people try to pull that out, even what's happened to me is it'll break off. So if it breaks off and we have to pull the manifold, which is going to require more time, I mean, granted, you know, everything's off, so it's a lot easier, but it's more time and it's more money out of the customer's pocket that we have to do that. So unless them threads are boogered up and tore up, I see no reason to justify pulling that stud to possibly risk having an absolute freaking headache. I'm not doing it. So to save him money and to save me money and time, we will not do that. So, you know, to each their own. If you want to do it, by all means. I've had a lot of experiences with any studs in these manifolds, even like the back ones that go to the back of the EGR or the block off plate, depending on how your truck is assorted currently. Those will break off all the time, and of course you can't drill them because the cowling is, well, you got 5 inches of room right there, 5, 6, 7, whatever, depending on your your measurement. I don't know how to measure that. Everybody knows us fellas aren't good with length measurements, but you can't drill it out, so you have to pull the manifold off and then drill it out outside the truck or replace the manifold. So time and money, 2 things we're not trying to make the customer pay more or us have to spend more time on. So that's where we're going to leave it. So let me get them studs in that turbo. I'm going to get that turbo mounted back up. And then the thing that normally fights me once we get the turbo back in is always the drain pipe. Every freaking time. Always fights me. Never wants to go back in. It's just, yeah, it's whatever, but patience, patience, patience. And with this truck being so low, I have to actually use the jack, lift it up a little bit so I can get underneath it, because it's a factory height truck. Factory height 3,500 on small tires, so she sits low. But yeah, that's what an empty hole looks like. Lots of room now. It's about to be cluttered back up again. So, well, let's get her back together. Nothing to it but to do it. Alright, as y'all saw, we pulled everything off. We're now down to the top of the head. So we're going to run the deck. We got everything else together. Turbo's in there nice and pretty. Just kind of buried in there hidden. You know, such a pretty turbo to be just shunned away from sight. But we're going to go ahead and adjust the valves. I'm going to pull the cover off of the injection pump access port. 27mm nut. So we got a 27mm socket, 1/2 inch ratchet. We use that to bar the motor over. Right now number 2 is down, so if we rotate this further and this goes all the way down, then we'll go ahead and adjust number 5, and you 1 and 6, 2 and 5, 3 and 4, and opposites. So that's how we. If you watched the previous video, we did the injectors on the 06 5.9 2500. Same exact thing. The only difference is, and keep this in mind, if it is a 6.7 with the emissions equipment, the valve lash adjustment is different. If it's a non-emissions truck, it's 10 and 20, 10 intake, 20 exhaust. I believe it's 28 exhaust if it is an emissions truck. Now I say if it is, I really don't remember the exact number, but I do know it is a little bit different. And because I've never adjusted a valve lash on a truck with emissions. And this one obviously is on a diet program. So, yeah. We're going to proceed on, and actually, typically, right there, 10 and 26. Most Cummins have the valve lash adjustment numbers on the valve covers, so 10 and 26, so 26 on the exhaust. The only difference, if it is an emissions equipped. If it is non-emissions equipped, again, 10 and 20. So, well, without further ado, let's get the sucker adjusted up so we can put her back together. Finish draining the oil out of the motor, top her back off with some nice Rotella clean T6 5W40, and then put the filler up with coolant and do a test drive. Make sure this old girl is in tip-top shape. I did tell this guy he needs to service his transmission, and he said he's scared of it, so I'm going to look here real quick why he's possibly scared of it. It's brown. Yeah, he needs to do that. We'll make sure to put that in the write-up, and as well as let him know that needs to be done ASAP, because that's not good. Again, this is like I've said before, I'll say it again, the biggest mistake people make with these trucks is they don't service everything. There's a lot more than just changing oil and fuel filters. You have a transmission that should be serviced every 30 to 40,000 miles, and that's pretty much the same across all the big three. You have a transfer case that should be serviced about the same every 20, 30, maybe 50K. Differentials should be done at most every 50K, ideally every 30K. Don't forget those. You know, we got to service those too. So remember all that stuff. You need. It's a lot of oil has to be serviced. If you do not service these items, they will fail prematurely. Your transmission will fail prematurely. Your transfer case will fail prematurely. Your differential bearings, your pinion bearing will take a shit. It will cost you more money. Servicing these vehicles, servicing everything is key to everything with these trucks. I don't care the make or model. I mean, even 6.4s, again, if you service and maintain these vehicles correctly and take care of them, they will last. If you do not, they will be piles of shit and cost you a fortune. Just like 6.0s. When 6.0s came out, why are they so hated? Because they require a lot of attention. They're very finicky. You can't treat them like a 7.3 where Farmer Johnson can beat the shit out of it and not maintain it correctly and expect it to be reliable for 500,000 miles. Now, 6.0s is a lot more technology, a lot more power to be dealt with. If they are not taken care of, they will freaking cost you a house. Same thing with these. Not servicing your transmission is going to cost you an $8,000 overhaul. It's going to happen. Not servicing your transfer case. If that transfer case comes apart, which these aren't a full-time drive axle, thankfully, that transfer case comes apart. A drive shaft, typically a front shaft, will take out the transmission too. If you're differentials, I mean, to overpay somebody to overhaul your differentials is typically about $1,200 on average, probably a little bit more depending on where you're from, $1,200 to $1,500. Okay. I mean, what, a gallon and a half of gear oil, and the Rams have reusable gaskets, which is real nice. So, I mean, what, you spend $50 on gear oil, and if by the time you hit $1,200, I mean, hell, your truck will almost be damn near 1,000,000 miles, so 750,000 miles. So I ain't a mathematician, but I'm all about spending less money than spending more money. But hey, that's just me. To each their own. That's my rant. Let's adjust the valves. Alright, so she's topped off the coolant. Still got to do a heat cycle and burp the air out. So she's still about half a gallon shy as it sits currently. Everything's back together. You can tell it looks a lot cleaner. There's not oil, crust, and goo everywhere. Air box is on. Our nice GXR Stage 1 Turbo Time USA HE 351 is installed and all nice and good. So, fresh oil change. Fresh oil change. That's important. That's important. So let's get in this thing and make sure that everything we did is good. Go ahead and reset the oil. Gotta get through the intro. Okay, thank you. Let's see. Oh, he needs fuel filters apparently.
Grabbing our leader in the middle of the night and killing people.
Well, 13,000 since reset. I mean, really, you can run fuel filters for up to 15,000, really, and actually longer than that, as long as you run good fuel. But all right, we're gonna pull through, kind of prime everything up. Well, we got vane position now. We didn't have that before. Oh, all right. Freaking error codes, Jesus Christ. All right. What the hell? Well, that makes no sense. Let's see. Try it again. Something is not right. Alright, so I made a boo-boo. We all make mistakes, right? So that another blue wire on number 6 barely got pinched on where this bolt goes down right here. So it was grounding it out, causing a miss. All good now. She's running just fine now. All good. So, I mean, shit happens. It's the first time I've ever had that happen to me. So what we'll do is I'm gonna touch that, I'm gonna heat shrink it up, and then fold it down correctly where it's out of the way. It looks like we need to pull that wire back a little bit. It's not bigger. Everything else is good though. It's running fine now. So anybody who's curious what the valve train looks like on this, kind of how it works. The turbos are working kind of weird because the exhaust back pressure sensor is currently unplugged, but it's all good. We'll shut it back down, put it back together. And then we'll put it back together, we'll fire it back up and do a road test on it, which everything should be fine then. So, my bad. Made a boo-boo. It's the first time it's ever happened to me, so, you know, I'm going to learn from our mistakes. But yeah, so you saw me like I panicked. I was like, okay, what the hell could happen, right? Because I was making sure. At first, it sounded like something was like caught up in the intake, which I know put nothing in the intake. So, you know, whatever. All good though. We'll get that wire fixed up, and the show will go on. So that's going to be it for this video. Thank y'all for watching. This is pretty good, pretty busy day. We even had a whole hour and a half delay. Had an hour phone call I had to take, and then I had another hour underneath here trying to get the freaking oil drain bolts to go in and get the coolant banjo bolt in. It's freaking kicking my ass. As it always does. I expect nothing less. I already know it's going to be like that. It's the way it always is. So that's it, though. That's it for the 2016. Although my documentation says 2017, but whatever. 2016 Ram 3500. It will be back again for the Black Market Performance intake, so there will be a video of that whenever that does show up. But that's going to be it for this one. I'll see y'all in the next video.